We are speaking with Puneet today with us. Puneet is the Executive Vice President and Head of Marketing and Digital at Nuvama Wealth, formerly Edelweiss. Nuvama is India's one of the largest technology-driven securities company and one of the leading stockbrokers and distributors in India. Puneet, welcome to the podcast, and it's such a pleasure and privilege to be speaking with you.
Yeah,
When
good
I
evening,
was
Saurabh.
studying Good evening, sir. I was speaking to you, I was studying your profile and I realized the kind of achievements you've had and the kind of experience you've gained over the last 27 years. I am but overwhelmed as to where to start this discussion actually. I really thank you for agreeing to be part of this podcast. I'm sure the viewers or listeners will gain a lot from the discussion and from your wisdom. How about we start with you giving a short introduction about yourself and your journey? You've seen marketing, you started with sales, marketing, you've seen operations, mergers and acquisitions. You've been an entrepreneur by heart, always entrepreneur in reality. An entrepreneur, you've massively scaled businesses. Give us a snapshot.
Thanks, Saurabh. It's my honor to be part of this podcast. uh, I always love talking to eminent and intelligent people like you in the industry and to the audience. Uh, my journey is very simple. I have been working in for last 27 years. If you ask me honestly, it's not that I have crafted my CV or my profile in a certain way, but whatever came to me, I just thought I'll give my best, and I kept learning. So those were the two things which I always focused. That learning is something which is very close to my heart. So and I do everything with a lot of honesty. As the work unfold, I just kept doing these two things, and when I look back, I also feel that I have actually uh, uh, done a 360-degree in terms of a corporate life. As you rightly said, I have started my career in sales, I have done marketing, I have done operations, merger acquisition, admin, uh, pretty much every part of the business and a P&L. I've handled everything. So it was great. Okay. I'm very curious by nature. I keep want to keep learning, and that is something which helped me move from one division to another. And I always believe in challenging the status quo. So that helped me not get into a complacent zone but keep moving. And if you look at many of the organizations which I joined in my previous career are either a startups or something new. So I am not afraid of challenging the status quo, going out of my comfort zone and trying something new. And I think that's what helped me build my profile the way it is today.
That's really amazing, humbling, and I remember Steve Jobs saying once that you can only connect the dots looking backwards. You cannot connect them looking forward. So I think everything has connected, culminated to what you are today. I think it's such a pleasure to be speaking with you. I was just in your recent role at Nuvama. I was just reading that you have led the digital customer acquisition model, where the customer acquisition soared from 5K to 50K accounts per month. That's a 10x jump, and app downloads also saw more than 3x jump from 30K to 10,000 downloads a month. And to all the viewers and listeners, mind you, Nuvama is into an HNI focused, the elite category of the customers business. So these numbers are really really staggering. Puneet, you've seen the journey of customer acquisition from the offline ecosystem to the digital ecosystem. um, Today we are seeing the next phase of that evolution, right? From setting up the digital ecosystem, the digital foundation and the bandwidth, to evolving it into highly intelligent, analytics driven, artificial intelligence, machine learning driven, creativity done by generative AI, and things like that. We're just going to take it to a whole new different level going forward. So, how do you see the landscape of customer acquisition evolving in banks and NBFCs in particular over the next few years? I mean, I will not give those numbers, whether it is 4 years, 5 years, 10 years. How do you see that?
So sort of let's take a step back. Okay. So as you rightly said, 15, 20 years back, client acquisition was largely offline, right? We
Yeah.
didn't had a infrastructure in the country where you could open a digital account. Okay. I'm talking about whether it's a bank account or a depository account or a broking account or any sort of, or an insurance account, mutual fund account, any sort of an account within the financial services landscape. It was all primitive offline where a customer needs to sign at 50, 60 places. I remember when we used to start a 3-in-1 account, a bank owned broking, where you have to open a broking, demat, and a bank account together. So it was a 60 pages form where a customer has to sign at some 70 places. So that is how it was initially when we started account opening, right, 25 years back. However, technology came into play. Initially, technology played role at the back end, where a
Hmm.
lot of automation happened at the back end, where different back offices got integrated to give a convenience for account opening and increase the productivity.
Sure.
Then from there, from back end integration, then it came to the front end, which only helped in terms of a convenience to the customer or an RM or to increase the productivity.
Yeah.
So the early days of technology adoption was largely automation, not digitalization. So it get
True.
confused at a lot of places. People, confuse automation with digitalization, but it was automation of the processes which were offline followed. Then this whole new fintech revolution came to India, where a lot happened in terms of building the entire public infrastructure also digitally, where your Aadhaar card came, then the DigiLocker came, digitalization of Aadhaar. Now you have account aggregator, which is happening in terms of a bank portability. All those things happened. The public infrastructure on a digital side start happening, which actually boosted the entire digital journey, and this the entire growth of the fintech sector happened. Now what happens, now it started with integration and automation of the back end, then front end and convenience, and now the public infrastructure integration of this all is creating an digital ecosystem for the customers, which is helping you and take you to the next level. Now once you have an Aadhaar card, you can just open an account by giving your Aadhaar card through a DigiLocker. You can open an account which used to have a 60, 70 pages, 60, 70 signatures. That is all gone away, and you can open a account in a 5 minutes on a real time basis.
True.
Not only that, now where digitalization is helping a lot of people, if you are opening an account for an assets business, say to take a loan or a credit card, at the time of account opening itself, your CIBIL score could be checked. A lot of other things, your behavior, your other things. There are, though there are a lot of restrictions on a social media in terms of sharing the PI information. Otherwise, you could actually look at a social profile of a customer as well. You can look at his entire financial history. You can look at his CIBIL score and everything, and you can profile a customer much before even you open an account.
Yes.
So today the infrastructure helps you provide that, but there are some restrictions. There are very draconian laws related to data privacy and all that. So those are the things which we should be mindful of. But I'm saying today the infrastructure allows you to actually know much about a prospect even before you onboard a customer. So that's how I think the world is changing. So as you rightly said, this journey has just kicked off few years back from automation to digitalization, and public infrastructure started building. But I think now in last couple of years we are seeing a lot of changes happening in terms of artificial intelligence and machine learning.
Yeah.
Now people are building the layers of intelligence. They can actually, I don't know whether you're aware, do you have any guess, Netflix have how many personas?
Uh, well, I don't know. I mean, to be, but from a my perspective, I could see when I open the Netflix, I can see it is seeing me, it is seeing my better half, it is seeing my kids. It may see. I mean, I don't know if there are various set of profiles which it can categorize me as well or other people. I don't know, but there would be definitely for sure many.
So they're in lakhs. So the personas, and I'm not talking about personalization. Personalization is
Yeah.
separate, right? So personalization to Saurabh and Puneet is a separate issue. But having Puneet as one persona and identifying the users according to that within their entire millions of base. Okay.
Oh
Now
yeah.
that is what I'm saying. That is what next AI and ML is going to do. Now, if I have a customer,
Microsegmentation.
a customer segment. If I have a
Yeah.
customer who is profitable and I understand his behavior, and when I'm acquiring a customer or I have a lead or a list of prospect, if I can, and I'm saying looks like that the future will be like this. then
Yeah.
your AI and ML tool can actually identify within the list of your prospects which persona is close to this person. So which
Hmm.
prospect is close to the behavior of Puneet, which is the customer who is close to the behavior of Saurabh. And then you can actually spend your entire energy in acquiring that prospects based on the AI ML information which has been thrown by by these tools. So I'm saying it will keep evolving. It's just, I think we are it's just a beginning, and I think there's going to be a huge runway in terms of how we evolve. And maybe 5 years down the line, if I and you will be still in the industry and having this conversation, we may look back and will not recognize what has happened and how quickly industry has changed. So I'll give you an example what I'm saying. Now if the Gen Z's who are joining us, when they look at account opening today, if I tell them that I started my career when we used to have 60 pages form and 70 signatures, they don't believe that it existed. So similarly, I'm saying 5 years down the line, the new generation which is going to come into the industry, they will not believe that our systems and technology are so primitive that what has happened. I'm saying world will change so fast in next 5 years, we may not realize how primitive we were. So I think it is going to change at a very very rapid pace.
That's true. No, I completely agree with you. I mean, I mentioned very fleetingly and simplistically the Netflix thing, but I can realize the factors and the correlations between the buckets which the system can do can create innumerous set of
Exactly.
personas, and then you can micro segment and target them specific to what their characteristics or could be, perhaps,
Correct.
comparing them to similar personas
Yeah.
and behaviors as well. So that's really amazing, and that's where maybe generative AI could definitely make a real big stance and change. Do you also see this as a danger, knowing too much about the customer by just a few traits, and figuring out who that person, what are you going to that require, or which product is going to stick to that person exactly?
It's a very interesting question. Okay, so every rose comes with set of thorns. So that's going to be the reality. So everything which has which is too good to accept come with its own set of limitations, negativity, and things like that. So if you ask me, uh, there will be some things. So it all depends on the intention of an individual. See, everything will be developed or will be innovated or created from a standpoint of the convenience for a customer, for a user, for the business, you know for to give more personalization to the individual, to make it much more, to give engagement and delight to the user and the customer. However, there will be few people who will basically misuse that information, or and manipulate or trick it out, and then it is going to become negative for the industry. But that's something, but I have seen this happens, and along with it comes governance, guardrails. Something happens, and industry eventually matures. So I don't see, it is going to happen, no doubt. Anything which is too good, which is convenience, which is can be used, tricked, manipulated. But however, industry gets matured over a period of time, and there are rail guards which will come, there will be compliance governance which will come, and that will get, and that's how maturity and evolution happens.
That's true. That's true. Where they say where there is God, there is devil.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Is there any specific demographic or market segment you see being impacted more than others? Are you seeing mass market being impacted more versus middle income or the elite group that you are targeting? Where is where is this going to get more optimally utilized?
What, technology or AI specifically you're
The,
talking about?
specifically the AI and the generative AI part of the equation, or in predictive analytics part of the equation.
So I tell you, Saurabh, there are two ways to look at it. Am I right? A lot of thing which happens by predictive analytics, AI, and all that is used by the organizations today.
True.
Now, I'll again take an example of say Netflix. Now, Netflix is using your persona to show you what you may like.
Hmm.
However, as a user, you have an option to either give him a rating, review, or choose not to tell you what you like. However, that predictive AI is working in the background for the organization. So I was saying, we go back to the Netflix example. Okay.
Hmm.
Now, predictive AI is telling what you may like,
Hmm.
what other people with your persona are watching, what is number
Correct.
one in India today. Am I right? That's all predictive analytics which is happening in the background, which is throwing some output to you. Now,
Hmm.
a lot of predictive analytics is used by the company and not directly by the user. User is a
True.
basically consumer, okay, of
True.
the information which has been thrown by the predictive AI. Now,
Yep.
if you look at it very selectively, I don't think a user chooses. He can actually choose and say these are not the right options. He can make it
True.
more powerful if he actually reacts, gives a review, gives a feedback, or chooses that these are not something of my interest, please don't show me something or the other. Now, user can actually make it more effective by giving the feedback. However, I think most of the predictive analytic tools are used by the companies to optimize basically the output for personalization according to the persona, or to throw the output to increase the either content consumption or revenue or whatever you call it, or engagement in that sense. I don't think uh, individuals from that standpoint choose or use AI directly. They are the
Hmm.
consumers of the output of AI.
That's true. I completely agree. I mean, the kind of posts and the usage of mid journey that we are seeing on the social media points to that for sure
Yeah.
from the user perspective. And I'm also seeing many organizations utilizing real-time generation of creatives using generative AI. But then I think it it will still take a little bit more amount of time. Maybe I don't know whether it is 6 months, 1 year, whatever the time frame is, for it to mature to a more realistic and unbiased view of the world. I mean, this is just my opinion with the kind of uh, things that I'm seeing and working on. But what's your view around that?
So sort of one of the generative AIs which I think which very very popular today is OpenAI. Okay, your Chat
Uh,
GTP.
yeah, yeah.
Now, a lot of people have started using it. Now, two things happen. First of all, I have also tried using it. First of all, I don't know personally. I'm saying, and I'm saying it's a great tool. It helps you generate a lot of good content and all that. But whenever I tried drafting or something, redraft a message on a Chat GTP, I have realized, I don't know personally, I've realized emotions are missing. I don't know. When
Mm,
I read a message which I personally write, and when you find it, what what output a generative AI has given, I find
mm,
emotions are very less. So maybe the content, the AI, the way it has been written is not very localized to India. Okay, and it is being written somewhere in US right now, and over a period of time, it will learn the Indian Indian dialect, Indian, the way we communicate, the way we relate to the individuals. Maybe that will happen over a period of time. But as
true.
of now, when I saw, I realized that the way the emotionally the empathy which I want to create in my message, it doesn't get reflected when a generative AI throws it up. That's one part of it. How, okay, now the second part of it. Okay, but I have also realized, okay, our teams also use generative AI and all that. It helps you bring a lot of standardization in the communication. Now, if
Mm,
you are running a very large contact center, okay, for customer service, and you may have a lot of canned responses, but still, when it comes to an individual, when they respond to a customer, there is a bit of, they are not all homogeneous. There's a lot of heterogeneity in terms of the responses, the way customer is being responded. But if you have something like OpenAI, generative AI, a lot of there's a lot of homogeneity because AI is responding in a specific standard format to all the customers for the similar query. So I'm saying it brings standardization, it brings effectiveness, it will increase your productivity. Now I'm saying every tool will have some benefits and it will have some limitations. So I'm saying that empathy may be missing because the tool is being designed in the Western world. It will get localized over a period of time, and it will learn, as we say, machine learning. It will learn over a period of time what how Indians dialect, Indian react, Indians relate to each other. That empathy part will come. However, on the other side, it will increase productivity. It will bring standardization. It will your time to response will shorten a lot. So these are the things which will benefit when you start using generative AI. I'm just talking about open AI right now. But I was talking to a media company a few days back, and they were telling that in our industry, a lot of people are using chat GTP. Okay, but there are issues of uh, you know uh, copyrights and all that are coming right now, because AI doesn't understand. It will have some stored information, and a lot of journalists are using it to draft their content, and it is being infringed into a copyright and all that. So everything will come with some sort of pluses and minuses. But as we have seen, even in BFSI sector or any sector, it's always a hybrid model which is most effective. So I think technology with some bit of an human intelligence will basically be required. So you may generate a content, some standardization, reduce your time to market, a lot of things. You can generate some content, but if you have an overlay of a human being on top of it, who can actually check the copyrights, who can check if it's not being copied, you bring that empathy part to it, I think it can become much more powerful. So it can enhance your productivity, it can give you standardization if it's used positively, plus if there can be a overlay of a human human mind, I think it can be very effectively used.
So all what I hear you saying that I think there are two parts to it. One is it can generative AI could be a very intelligent assistant to you, but it cannot be you. So you have to bring that meanness in the or you-ness in the content for sure. But it
Exactly.
is but it is it could be interesting when you need that uniqueness and uniqueness, when you need standardization, when you don't need heterogeneity, when you need homogenetic communication or homogenetic way of dealing with a uh, maybe a scalable structure. I think that is something that this could be really beneficial, right? So,
I
do
loved
you
one
see?
word which you used. It can be used as intelligent assistant. It can't be your intelligent master. So I think
Exactly.
that's the key. You have to remain a
Abs-
master. You can use it as an assistant, I think.
Absolutely. Oh no, that's so beautiful. But what's happening? What would happen to the Uber transactional job ecosystem? Like, I mean, I would still not call it completely transactional, but a huge sector of the BPO ecosystem is very transactional. So, do you see a risk to that segment once this gets mass adopted?
So sort of, I look at it from a very different lens. Okay, as I've been working into corporate world for last 25, 27 years now. I have seen every industry has a cycle. So
Yeah.
the jobs which were relevant 15 years back are no more relevant today. Now,
True.
when I passed out from my MBA, there was a lot of concept of retail financial services. Okay, people wanted to get
Hmm.
into retail financial services. People from
True.
Cokes of the world used to join ICICI Bank, HDFC Bank. People from Xerox used to join. Because everyone thought that retail financial services is going to be the next sector. Now you had all these private sector banks coming in India. You had all these private life insurance companies coming to India. You had privatization of mutual fund happening. So a lot of manpower professionalism was required at that point of time. That was the marquee career at that point of time. Then over a
Hmm.
period of time, you had Infosys of the worlds and Wipros of the worlds who started building, technology stacks and everybody. So everybody started saying, the next boom is technology. So retail financial services became little, sort of a orthodox old school economy, old school jobs, and then IT sector was something which was booming. Then coding happened. Then people started talking about coding. So I'm saying I have seen every 5 7 years your entire industry or landscape shifts anyways. So
True.
BPO may have lived its own life of 5 7 years when they were the jobs which people were sorting and looking for. But I have seen one thing: as anything gets evolved, the technology gets built more and more. The more we evolve, your skill set may be different. The requirement of a skill set may be different, but jobs continue to grow. I have never seen anything which you may have a replacement of skill, you may have a replacement of a job from one to the other, but finally, as economies grow, as economies evolve, as we become more learned, I have seen, however, technology may have built or developed, you would require a job, but it gets moved or shifted from one specific sector to the other sector. That's my reading for last 25, 27 years. However, I may be wrong. The way technology developments are happening, it may take away a few jobs, but I think it will only move from one type of a skill set to the other type of skill.
When I started my career in 2003, mobile phones had just come into the mainstream, and we were still having buttons there rather than
Correct.
touches. Right? We all have evolved through that journey, and there would always be learning, unlearning, relearning involved, and if, as long as
Yeah.
people keep on that trajectory, there'll be growth for sure. That's
Correct.
that's that's really interesting. But just continuing in that vein, how is your marketing team taking? And I'm asking it from a very personal perspective also, because not very long ago, in 2000, between 2012 and 2017, I started and ran a digital agency of myself, digital agency, and there were two angles to a digital agency, right? One is the tech part of the equation, where you have the tech people, and then you have the real creative marketing, digital marketeers, the graphic designers, the UX designers, those kind of equations, and very different sort of DNA to these sort of people. I mean, obviously, the tech people would want to stay in their rooms. They want to stay in their cubicles. Obviously, we have a CTO who's a very creative guy, who's also a very good photographer and a videographer, but there are not too many, right? I mean, and then there will be the set of these creative marketers who would want to sit on open tables. You will have all kind of soft drinks or whatever, in the in the office, and they would have fun. Very different kind of DNA, right? So how is your team evolving now, given that technology has gotten blended into creativity today, and how they are evolving and planning to learn and relearn? And what is your strategy to, or your perspective as to how they should evolve?
So I'll answer it in two parts. One is about how we are dealing it, and I'll give you a macro answer to your question as well. So I'll say not long back when we were hit by COVID 3 4 years back, everyone thought work from home will be the new way of working. But I see every technology company which has announced a work from home has actually asked people to mandatorily report to the offices now. So I'm
Yeah.
saying, our imagination or our thinking from some vantage point is very different when the reality, the rubber hits the road, it becomes very different. Okay. And I'll tell you one more thing. A few years back when metaverse came, okay, we thought that real world will not exist, and after 15 years, you will have all Gucci bags and Louis Vuitton bags also available on metaverse, and people would be auctioning and bidding it, and they would like to showcase like I and you are having this interaction. We will be sitting in a metaverse room where I will be maybe instead of showing you my Mont Blanc physically, I will be showing you it on a metaverse. So we thought that will be the world which will exist, but maybe that will the world which will come. But at least today, 2 years back it was looking too real, but today it is not looking very real to me at least. Okay. So now I come to my teams, how we are dealing. So so as I said, personally I believe I'm somebody who is very fond of learning. I'm very curious. I keep um, um, questioning the status quo. And I think that's the culture which I have built in my team. So they are very open. They always want to be out of their comfort zone. They really want to learn. So first step of learning is to unlearn, because you
Hmm.
cannot learn unless you unlearn. So I think that's the basic uh, uh, you know uh, step. Otherwise you can't move forward. So I and my team are very open to unlearn. We don't think we have uh, whatever years of experience we have, we don't think we have actually really done where we have to be in terms of our learning. It's always a new day to learn from each other. So we unlearn ourselves, we learn, we look at the market, what is happening, we keep glued to the, we read a lot, we keep glued to the new industry patterns, what's happening in the industry, and that's how team takes it up. And One more thing which I encourage: when you are willing to unlearn, learn yourself, relearn, whatever it is, one should not hesitate to acknowledge that I don't know. And the second thing is, I have made a mistake. Because if you create a culture where people are open to accept that I don't know and I have committed a mistake, then they don't hesitate to experiment, they don't hesitate to learn new things, and they don't hesitate to actually venture into some new projects and try to. So these are the things. Moreover, okay, we also spend a lot of time, money in terms of upskilling upskilling our teams. So we attend a lot of webinars, physical trainings, where we can learn the new trends, what's happening. World is evolving so rapidly that it's very difficult for anybody to be basically keep a pace with it. So you have to be involved, you have to be networked, and then you have to keep attending to those type of trainings, webinars, and everything to keep upskilling yourself. So that's how we are trying to grapple with what opportunity, I would say, an opportunity which the world is throwing at us.
Oh, that's no, really really interesting perspective. Looking ahead, how do you see foresee AI, um, uh, not just impact acquisition numbers, but how do you see it impacting customer lifetime value? Do you see that? Do you see that happening? Do you see the impact there? And eventually, it might also impact the top line, bottom line of the organization if that
Definitely.
happens.
So, so I tell you, anything which is innovative, am I right? Especially technology driven. Initially, it looked like a cost because it's an
Mm.
investment which is an unknown. But as I said, in my experience, I've seen all these investments have paid for themselves. They bring a huge productivity difference. They bring a lot of return on investment, and they become actually much cheaper than the human beings you deploy in terms of increasing your the overall return and as well as productivity. Now, you asked me that how generative AI will help acquisition and all that. So, if you look at one more trend, I don't know whether I can attribute this to COVID or not, but maybe because with the increasing usage and consumption and engagement on social media, uh, we have we are becoming a lot introvert as society. A lot of
Agreed.
us, a lot of us, I tell you, my son is studying in Singapore, and he and I will interact on a WhatsApp every day, but I think maybe not on a daily basis on a call. Now,
Oh,
that's how the society is moving. People prefer, and they can do a chat for half an hour, but for a similar thing, they will not do a 5 minute call. Now that's how I believe a lot of people. Okay, and they feel that they can do a chat on a run, on a go, while in a metro, while on a still keeping their secrecy, privacy from the environment. But that's how I think a lot of us are, for a lack of a word, I would say, a lot of us are becoming little introvert rather than that that social conversations which used to have social gatherings. That's reducing a lot because of the engagement with social platforms and all. So I think if the trend continues, a lot of people would not like to interact or get assisted while they want to open an account, get onboarded, or for an engagement with an organization, firm, or a platform. The A lot will happen over conversations on a platform, either through a chat or through personalization or through pop-ups or intelligence predictive personalization of the content which I can show onto your wall. So that is
mm,
all going to happen, and that is what I think is the belief and the preference. So I'll again come back to a Netflix example, because I think they have really worked through their predictive AI a lot on a consumer engagement and consumer behavior. Now, think of it: if you get a call from Netflix and say, we have a new series, or we have an animal movie which is there on the Netflix, I don't think you'll like it. But if you go and enter on Netflix, you see a pop-up according to your persona that they are showing that they have a new movie there, or some genre of, say, if you have watched Money Heist in the past, they will say that you have Money Heist Berlin there. Now that is how they interact with you. They make you addictive to their platform using predictive AI. Now I think today in the BFS landscape, you still get a lot of calls. People will call you from XYZ company for a personal loan, for a
Mhm.
credit card, for something or the other. Am I right? Even for a client engagement, even if you are a client who's onboarded, somebody will try to call you and say, "Sir, do you know this? We have launched this as a product and all." And you think it's like a infringing into your privacy, into your time, which is an unsolicited call sort of a thing. However, I think if you have a predictive AI, you have a wall where, like Netflix, I can throw you based on your persona some very personalized product engagement, some sort of freebie that will delight you. Okay, no one is actually infringing into privacy directly, but somebody is silently trying to nudge you about personalizing some sort of engagement with you and showing you something which may be of interest to you. Now that
That's
is only possible with predictive AI.
hmm. I think let's both give an example, give an idea to WhatsApp and maybe Zoom or this channel that let's say if I'm talking to somebody and I have WhatsApp has incorporated a lot of generative AI and WhatsApp understands my persona. And after some time, while I'm chatting with my boss, I'll say, "Hey, WhatsApp, take over," and I'll go have a coffee.
No, I think that is not the world which is. So I'm saying, exactly that is what I'm saying. A lot of organizations I know for sure, okay, in globally, even in India, are actually moving their entire customer interaction, customer service, post sales service to generative AI, because that's something where they want a very standardization. Sir, welcome. Hope you liked our product. Is there an issue? Kindly send us your ticket. So those are something which are very normal and common, am I right? And towards the end, where it requires a little technicality to solve that question, there you maybe it, it conduits to the human being. Otherwise it's being done by generative AI.
That's really interesting. So, what are the ethical considerations and risks that organizations should be mindful of while using artificial intelligence and generative AI in customer acquisition? And how do you think you would be addressing some of those concerns as a leader?
See, first of all, we should respect people's privacy. I think
Mm,
there's a very thin line between being smart, predictive, and then infringing into someone's territory and their privacy. I think that's the biggest threat which happens when you start using these tools, because
mm,
because where you are smart, where you are personalizing, and where you are infringing into someone's privacy is something which I think is a very very thin line. So I think that's the first risk which, as an organization, somebody has to look at it and ensure that we are not uh, infringing into someone's privacy, someone's territory, unless until we have the consent of a customer. That's first thing I think. The
yeah.
second railguard which you should have is about you should be following the law of the land, and you should be following all the compliance regulations as laid out by your respective regulators. Now, somewhere in the name of innovation, you can step out and do few things which may be not so explicit or gray when it comes to what regulator is expecting out of you. Now, that's where you have to be very clear what is in spirit and what is in letter. I have
Mm,
seen a lot many times people use technology, try to circumvent the gray area without understanding the spirit, and then they say and blame it on the letter that it's gray and we have used it. Now, I
mm,
think from a long term reputation perspective, from long term ethics perspective, one should be very mindful of that. We should follow things in spirit, and in name of innovation we should not cross the line. That's the second thing which is, I think, very very important from an ethics point of view or risk point of view. Largely these are the two things. One is the privacy from a customer point of view, second from a regulator point of view. So I was saying third is about your system should be robust, your data should be uh, privacy, your data privacy. It should not
mm,
happen that in again for generative AI or for predictive AI you have an ecosystem which should be very secure enough. Because you may have to be interacting with multiple platforms, multiple tools, multiple feeds. okay, and a public infrastructure to basically generate your feed. But your system should be robust and your technology should be, I think it has to be super controlled so that there should not be any data leakage.
Hmm. But you know, the there are two aspects to it. What you've mentioned is very true, and organizations should definitely be cognizant of it and work towards it. But there are two aspects of it. One, as we discussed, where there is God, there is devil, and there are where there are good organizations, there are bad organizations. And second, the government, if we see, if the policies in the lay of the land has to evolve. I mean, the lay of the land may not have perceived this kind of an ecosystem evolving so fast, right? So the law of the land also takes some time to evolve and catch up to it. And generally, the technology evolves faster than the lay of the land. By that time, some of the bad ones would have taken advantage of it. So, are we going to see a dangerous world come going forward? We are already seeing memes of very eminent personalities being faked and things like that. So, what's going to happen? Are we going to see a chaotic world, or you're seeing a how are you seeing this?
See, it's difficult to predict the world, okay, but I'm sure, okay, so devils grow faster than the god. So there is going to, people don't do it just because, some people just do for the sake of fun, okay. Some
Hmm.
really want to misuse the system. Some wants to say, okay, till the time we have a clarity, we have a run, why don't we take advantage of the opportunity? So people do, whether we call them devils, whether we call them wrong, right, I don't know, but it's very difficult to bucket them in a specific segment. However, most of the people, I'm repeating, if your intentions are right, okay, if you're honest with your intentions, likely you are not going to the wrong things. You will have some rail guards. You may misinterpret few things, as you rightly said, that lay of the land will follow the technology. It's not going to be the other way around. So you are not going to miss the opportunity and creativity and innovation if you have one. So I'm not saying that, but if you're largely, if your spirit, if you're honest to the intentions, I don't see there's much case. You may make a mistake, but eventually you are not going to misuse the system. However, if intention is itself that, to misuse the system, then I think there are a lot of opportunities which are available. So technology will provide many more opportunities to the people who want to misuse the system. And then, as I said, everything keeps evolving. So we will learn by mistakes. We'll learn when we'll find that. So and it's not that it's about only technology. Okay, I used to work for a very large bank, and we had a very large field force, and we used to say that as a management we can think of all the rail guards in an average hour, but that guy who is the feet on the street, who is lowest paid in the food chain, is more intelligent than all of us. He will find out a loophole. So that
True.
used to happen and exist in an offline world as well. So I'm saying, if the intention is to do that, there are people who are only, there are people, they have a setups who are only thinking of hacking. So now, if that is the intention, you're going to hack it, am I right? Now, but as the hacking happens, you have ISGs, you have systems, you have antiviruses, you have a lot of other things which keep getting built and developed. And that's how, as I said, more jobs will get created, but the skill set will get changed. So this is how, you'll have more jobs getting created, skill set will change, things will evolve. That's what is going to happen. So you will have some more monitoring mechanisms, you will have some people developing something different to basically rail safeguard your interest, and all that is going to happen. That's how the evolution will keep happening.
Oh, no, we cannot agree more. I think humanity has existed since eons, given all the evolution that happened. I mean, I can see maybe 10 years down the line, our kids, or our grandkids would say, "Hey, you guys used to still used to have something, you used to hold something in hand to talk to somebody else. It's
Exactly.
so." It was so primitive, but then that is how evolution happens. That's really interesting. It was great. So just before picking on your last thoughts and your advice to the CMOs and the head of marketing, I'll just quickly recap and please add to this. You mentioned as you mentioned in generative AI or in this ecosystem of creativity, specifically talking about sales, marketing, customer acquisition journeys. Emotions are missing. Where is the you in the communication? But then where it can be utilized very very well is when there is a standardization that is needed, or where it becomes this ecosystem becomes an able assistant, intelligent assistant to you, as you said, rather than becoming a master of you. So that is where the things are. Jobs will evolve. It has always moved in cycles. Some of the segments would go away, but there would be new segments being added. We are already seeing the the number of artificial intelligence, machine learning jobs, data engineering jobs being doubled over the next few years. A lot of reports talking about it. People will evolve, but where there is God, there is devil. So organizations should also know the limits between where when they are infringing the privacy or infringing a person's life too much versus they're offering delight to their customers or consumers.
Correct.
However, at the same time, this nobody has seen the future, so it is still evolving. It may still be unpredictable, but the fact that we have survived, we have lived, humanity has evolved, humanity still exists since eons. Everything is going to be well. It's going to be a happy Bollywood movie, happy ending Bollywood movie.
I know. So I strongly believe human beings have evolved, as you rightly said. Okay, and uh, we have a very strong foundation, and
Yeah.
I think Amrit Kal chal raha hai. India is going back into its Sone ki Chidiya days. So we will lead the way, and if we will lead the way, I think it will be much more ethical.
Well, I completely agree with you. And Puneet, we've also been at triSys. We've been traveling across other countries. Very recently, we've been to Australia. We have seen the way the fintech ecosystem has evolved in India, and the public infrastructure, and the way general public is using technology today is we are way ahead in terms
Correct.
of our evolution. I think we've leapfrogged one generation of technology to the next one,
Correct.
where some of the other even developed so-called countries are yet to catch up. So
Correct.
very interesting. What are your last parting thoughts? What are your advice to the CMOs, to your peers, to your maybe upcoming marketing leaders on how they should see the journey going forward and how they should incorporate these latest technologies in their customer acquisition journeys in their careers?
So I'll stick to the basics. I'm a simple guy, as I said in the beginning. So first is, one should question the status quo. One should come out of the comfort zone, and that's only you will be able to do experimentation. And when you are doing that, you should be open to unlearn, learn, relearn. Okay, but that's only that will help you build on it. Okay. Third, technology is evolving so fast. We should not think that we have become a masters of it. We should always be, humble enough to keep learning from the new systems, new technology, what is throwing at it. So we are talking about AI, ML, and all lot of that, and we have seen some fiction movies in the Hollywood. You never know when the system will actually become a master of us, and we will not know one day that artificial intelligence has become more intelligent than a human intelligence, and a machine has learned more than us, and they have taken a control over us. So we never know what will the future will be. So some people in Hollywood may have thought about it, and they have created some fiction movies. So I hope we will not see that sort of a world over a period of time. But however, I'm saying one should keep learning. One should put an honest effort in learning and trying to find out and go out of the comfort zone and experiment. And I wish you all the best at Try Systems, that you guys build something which is very localized to in every market wherever you are present, where you can actually build a system which can help to localize the campaigns, to localize the, if the way we spoke about, generative AI, where you can bring those emotions, where you can actually have an experience of the local dialect, local language, local emotions, and can relate to the people so way. So I wish and I hope to see some products from your team which can be so close to the market and so close to the human intelligence that it is difficult to differentiate between an artificial intelligence and a human intelligence, so that we can
Wow.
have good of all the artificial intelligence in terms of systems, and all the positives and goods of a human intelligence overlaid onto it.
Wonderful. Thanks a lot, sir. We are on it. Let me assure you, and with your encouragement, support, and blessings, you will see a lot of interesting platforms and solutions coming out of triSys, and obviously through the intelligent brains that we have in our country. I mean, we are really living in Amritkal. Uh, Thanks a lot for your time, Puneet. It was such a pleasure interacting with you, and it is such a privilege as well, as always. Thanks a lot for your time, and wish you a great evening and great weekend ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Saurabh, and I hope you and the company will do great, and we'll see a lot of good products from you, and hopefully we'll utilize and use them for a better productivity and to increase our ROIs in the market.
Absolutely, sir. Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Please take
Welcome.
care.
Take care. Bye.